Hello everybody and welcome to another Sweet Poppy Stencils Inspiration Day. It's Rosemary here from the design team. Today I'd like to share a tutorial with you making this card. It's using the new wheat stencil and the duo windmill from Sweet Poppy Stencils. And we're going to be using our gold paste. So I've got my stencil ready and I've got my piece of blank card ready, and I've got some paper, just scrap paper, and my magnetic sheet. So that's what we need to get started. So the card that the piece of card that I've cut out to start with is 14 centimeters by 14 centimeters. So start with, I've got some scrap paper because this magnetic sheet is very strong, and as you can see my magnetic sheet is on the back of an old cutting mat and I've stuck it down. So I just put my piece of paper there and I'm going to line up my card with my stencil. That thing's sticking to me. Okay, so I'm going to line up my stencil and I'm going to place it on my card. So as you can see, my piece of card is the same size as my stencil. So I'm going to put down my stencil. And so we're now going to put down our tape. So we do 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, and 1 either side. That's our stencil ready for us to go. So we're going to get our gold paste, which is from Sweet Poppy Stencils, and our palette knife and our scraper. So I'm going to pick up my gold paste. I'm going to place it along the top of my stencil onto my tape that's already there. I'm going to make sure it goes all the way across. I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. Okay, and then I'm going to 45-degree angle, and I'm putting my hands together so I don't bend my scraper, and I'm just going to drag it across. I'm not pressing heavily, and lift. And we're just going to put the excess paste back in our pot. I'm going to pick up from the bottom, and then I'm just going to do one more scrape, just gently pulling down, and then place that in my pot. I'll clean the sides of my pot later, and I'll just put these in water. Put them in water straight away so that it doesn't dry onto the items that we've used so far. Don't need that anymore now. So I'm going to lift my tape from the corners, from the side, sorry. I'm going to lift my tape from the bottom. And then I'm going to lift my tape from the top, leaving me one piece of tape as a hinge. pull that towards me a little bit. And then I'm going to press down on my metallic mat, and I'm going to put my thumb in and hold my piece of card down. And I'm just going to lift and pull off. And that's our stenciled image. Which has come out beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to one side to dry. And now we need to do our stamping. Oops, sorry. So I've got one here that I did earlier. So that's what, that one's nice and dry. I did that a couple of days ago. And we're now going to stamp our image. Our image we're stamping in the middle of our circle is the Windmill Duo. The Windmill Duo. So it's quite a nice stamp. It's a Stampscape stamp that's been licensed by Sweet Poppy Stencils. So I thought windmill would look nice with the wheat, because after all we do use wheat in a windmill to turn it into powder for things. So we are going to get our stamping platform and place our stamp on our stamping platform. A few magnets to hold our card in place. I'll bring them down a bit further, because as long as they're not touching the stamp. And then we're going to be happy with where our stamp is. Just give it a little tweak if you're not happy. And then we're going to press that down, pick up our stamp. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit of brush over with powder. Now I'm using VersaFine Clear Morning Mist, because I didn't want, I'm going to colour the image, so I thought if I use black the colour might not show so much, so that's why I went for Morning Mist. But if you wish to do it in a different colour, then that's fine. I'm using polychromo pencils to colour mine in with, but there are a huge number of other products that you could colour it in with. Lucy's pens, watercolour pens, they're lovely to colour with. I'm going to press that down, and then I'm just going to press and make sure I get the whole image. I use my thumbs to press down. And then I usually use my little buddy as well. This is my stamping buddy. Helps me along all the time, he does. And that's our image. We've actually finished with our stamping. You can stamp a sentiment on there if you wish, a small one. You could put hello up there or something with. So that's our stamped image. And so now next we're moving on to our colouring. So because I'm going to be using polychromos and I'm going to be using a blending solution, I can't really do that one yet, because I need to leave that one to dry now. Because I've used VersaFine Clear, it takes a little bit of a time to dry. So I've already done that one already. Okay. So I've got 3 polychromo pencils. That's all I've used is 3. I've used number 9201 120, which is ultramarine. I've used 9201 168, which is earth green, and I've used 9201 188, which is sanguine. So they're the three colours I've used. And as I said, I'm going to be using my blending solution, which is here. This is a Sandor one. You can also get it from other companies. I usually get mine from Hobbycraft, so that's why I get the Sandor one. And now I need my pencil stubs. So I've got my blue pencil stub there, a green pencil stub, and a blue, got the blue, green, oh, and brown, there it is, and brown. So there we go, there's my pencil stubs that I need. So put that back on there. So to start with, we're going to colour in our water. So what I did with the water was there's a line here, which is where our reflection separates. So from there, I just gently, using small circular motion, went round my water area. Just gently colour in where you want it to go. If you don't want to go past it, I just thought the reflection just outside a little bit was a bit nice. So that's what I did. And then we're doing the same with the green, the earth green. So we're just colouring in. I just thought I'd do them green, make them look like little trees, little bushes. And as you can see, like with the way the stamp's been designed, it actually does some of our contrast for us. So that's brilliant. So for the blades of the windmill, we're doing the same. Sorry. The blades of the windmill, we're doing the same. Just gentle, very gentle circular motions. There is a blade here, but I just left that because I'm going to do them as well. The houses, the housey part in brown as well. So that's our blades done. And then just move on to our actual windmills. And we're just going to do them in brown as well. Just to give them a bit more texture. Leaving the windows, and that's a ladder going up there. So there we go, that's our colouring done. Let's do the roofs as well, just to finish them off. Now, so then we open up our blending solution and go with the brown. Pick up our blending solution and then gently just blend it in. Takes away any pencil lines there are and gives you a smoother finish. You can, like I said, you can use Lucy's pens. You can use any pencils you like, and watercolour pencils would be nice. It's your choice what you use. That's our little lighthouses done. And then we'll move on to our green. And it's easier to use a circular motion on the green. It's a bit more difficult on the blades because you don't want to go over the shape or the stamp image. But you've got an easier area with the bushes, grass, hills. So that's that done. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do our water. So we just press our pencil into our sponge, and then we gently blend in our water solution. When I was a child, I always got really stressed if I was colouring in felt tip pens because I didn't like the way it left all them horrible lines. So I sort of gave up on colouring a bit. Then I found watercolour pencils and I quite like them. But then somebody recommended these to me and I bought some. And I just love them. So, and now I'm getting used to using the watercolour pens as well. So I quite like them as well. So that's our colouring done. So that's actually our card sort of finished, if you like. But not quite, we've got to mount it and everything. So that's everything that's done. And the last thing we're actually going to do on that area there is we're going to use I'm using the gold jelly roll pen, because I think it might show up better in the video. So I'm just doing the windows with the gold jelly roll pen. So it looks like I'll do underneath there. So it looks like the lights are on. I'll do a little bit on the windmills. And I'm going to put it on the water reflection. So I'll put some there. Hope you can see that. Let's go to the end of the water. Okay. And then I'm just going to do some lines across there to give the illusion of water. Hope you can see that. Now, one more area we're going to do is our clouds. I don't know if you can see the clouds on here because they're... Oh, yes, you can see the clouds. So we've got our clouds in the sky. I'm going to do them now. So all my cloud stencils were very, very big. So I made my own one. So I just got a piece of paper and I just drew and then cut out. So I just drew my pattern that I wanted and then I just cut it out. And I got my blue brush and I laid it over the top. And I just gently brushed my blue brush over the top of my paper stencil. It's only paper, it's a piece of photocopy paper. And as you can see, I hope, yes, as you can see, it leaves just a nice image in the background. And then I just moved it around, not going over the edge of my circle, onto my card. Oh, there was a big gap in that sentence, wasn't there? Sorry about that. I carried on until I got down to the hilly grassy area of our stamp. So once I got to here, that's when I stopped. And I was quite happy with that. So once again, all I did was I got a piece of paper and I folded it over so you can see, and I drew my pattern and then I cut it out with a pair of scissors. And that's what I was left with, and I thought, oh, I'll try that. And I was very, very happy. I think it turned out just to be the right size. So that's a nice, easy way of making a cloud stencil if you haven't got a tiny one. What we need to do now is then we need to... So I know this is 14 centimetres. So that's 14 centimetres on that line there. So I'm going to cut my card out. Just turn it and make sure the other one's 14 centimetres as well. Yes, it is, yes. So I'm going to make my topper. I'm going to take my topper to this line here. And once again, that line there. So that is now 15 centimetres. Okay. So that's what our card is going to look like. Now you can leave it plain white, maybe raise this one up. So there's our card ready to be prepped for mounting now. So usually what I do is I put a black line around the edge of my card. So I'm going to put that there, and I always use a Sharpie. So I've got my Sharpie ready. And I place my card over. And the reason I use a piece of card is sometimes when you do this, you go on the edge and you drag it down and your hand slips and you end up with a big line. So if I just scrape it down like that, or pull it down, you get a nice flat line, straight line on your card. You get a straight line if you make sure that your piece of card is straight. Sometimes I move it a little bit and it goes a bit wonky. If I hold it tightly, it usually stays in place. Now normally on the other one I cut this one down, but I've decided to leave this one, as I said, at 14 centimetres. So that's our card with its black mark. And I'm also going to do the background. Sorry, the matte and layer background. There we go. And that's our layer that we're going to put our mat onto. So this is what our card is going to look like. So that's our mat and layering. So when I mat and layer my card, I always use double-sided tape. Because I find it sticks for longer, or sticks better I should say. Now, as you know, this is always where I use a VersaFine Clear ink pad to cut it. I always put my double-sided tape on my wrist, and then I use that and pull it up, and you get a nice clean cut. Oh, come off, that's it. There we go. I hope you're enjoying the inspiration days. They really are a lot of fun. And I love seeing all your creations afterwards. Let's get rid of the rubbish. And we can matte and layer this on top. Now, the next thing I do is I peel it off halfway down each one. And I use a Pritt stick or a glue stick. I'm using a glue stick. So I use my glue stick onto the bit that I've peeled off, and then a little bit in the middle. And this helps us to be able to give a little wiggle on our card. And line it up so as it looks even, and then just pull and press. Making sure our fingers are clean, but as I haven't done any sort of like messy inking, I know my fingers are clean. So okay, so that's our card. So all we have to do now is mount it onto a blank card. Sure our card is the right way. I'm going to have it that way, and I'm going to and that's our finished card. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed my video tutorial, and I really hope that you loved all the other inspiration from today's inspiration day. And I'd like to thank Sweet Poppy Stencils for doing this for us and helping us all encouraged to make lovely cards and projects. Thank you very much for your company. See you all again soon. Bye.